Well, it's that time of year in the end of Montober. Well, the official end. Tomorrow, there's going to be an unofficial end after I review Voorhees, which is launching sometime today, but I'm going to end it officially with Halloween 2. Next year, Halloween 4. I'm skipping 3 because Halloween Day will be reserved for the Michael Myers movies, but I'll probably review part 3 at some point next year. Halloween 2 is more the night he came home. It picks up where the first movie ends, and Laurie goes to the hospital. Michael's still on the loose. He steals a knife from Mrs. Elrod, who's making a ham sandwich with mustard and mayonnaise and a bottle of Coke. That's the Halloween 2 special. Next time you're at a diner, you should order that and see if anyone knows what you're talking about. Anyway, the film just progresses, and it's more of a methodically slow-paced film, even when Michael gets to the hospital, where you think it would begin to pick up then. The movie takes its time. It builds dread. You know Michael's on the loose. You know Laurie's defenseless. She's out of it. She's been given morphine. She's probably high as a kite and can't defend herself. And it's the dread of what happens when Michael gets to her. And the film plays with that tension so good. Michael's in the hospital. He stalks. He watches the staff. He learns how many staff are there. He's learning his way around the hospital. And I think that's an interesting way to do the film. It could have been a more fast-paced film, like how Friday the 13th 2 was more fast-paced than the original, but it kind of went slower and more methodical. Maybe a little too slow for some people. I've seen reviews where this film was called boring, and even though I don't feel that way, I can see where that criticism would come from. It doesn't help that till the end, Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't do much. She just lays in a hospital bed with her eyes closed until she wakes up and realizes something's amiss. Fortunately, to offset that, we have the great Donald Pleasance back as Dr. Loomis, and he's just as good as ever. He gives those great, gloomy monologues about the evil in Myers. Loomis, in every film, he's given lines that you can just put on a shirt. They're so good, they're so iconic, and no one could have delivered those lines anywhere near as well as Loomis. I know the role was originally offered to Christopher Lee, and his agent turned him down without telling him. Christopher Lee, it would have been great in its own right, but Donald Pleasance was born to play this role. And we even get to see follow-ups to some things that happened in the first movie, like when Sheriff Brackett finds Michael murdered his daughter, and he's pretty much out of the rest of the film, which is understandable. When you find out your kid's been murdered, you're not going to be there mentally enough to pursue a killer, so one of the deputies takes the place of helping Loomis out. We have even Ben Tramer's in this film. He's in a mask similar to Michael. Loomis pulls a gun on him. He gets hit with a cop car, rammed against a van, and they both explode. And something I always felt with this scene, in the second one, towards the end of the day, going into the night, in the first one, we see the hardware store was robbed. Couple masks, knife, some rope, and we assume it was Michael. But again, it doesn't say what kind of knife. It could have been a pocket knife. I might have to watch it. It might have said kitchen knife, but anyway, we see from the early morning when Lori drops the mail off at the Myers house that Michael had the mask on. When he's following her through the day, he has the mask. I don't think Michael robbed the hardware store. I think it was Ben Tramer. In even the scene where Laurie's talking about liking him to Annie, you kind of get the feeling Ben Tramer's a troublemaker. So, can't prove it, but that's just my thing. They have an autopsy scene, and it's clear from the initial dental exam it's not Myers. Meanwhile, things are getting stranger at the hospital. People are going missing. And one of the nurses decides, I'm going to get in my car and drive off. Well, I believe it was Michael slashed her tires, and she goes back, and I'm like, if it was me, that would be, you know what? I'm just going to walk it. I'm going to risk it. Something's not right here. People are missing. There's a murderer still on the loose in this town, and it's foolish just to stay here. They can fire me in the morning, but somebody's got to do something. We have a EMT that's crushing on Lori and gets borderline creepy with it at times. And again, it's one of those things, it's like it could be better because she's kind of out of it throughout the movie. There's no back to back interaction, and those scenes, although written well enough, are somewhat clunky when you're just talking to someone who's not really responsive. It's still a great movie, but again, I could understand criticisms about stuff like that. Michael was played this time by Dick Warlock, and the mask, it's the same physical mask from the first movie, but it looks different because one, Dick Warlock had a bigger head, and two, after completion of the first movie, Deborah Hill, who was a chain smoker, just kept the mask under her mattress, so it's kind of, given how latex decomposes, it's actually surprising the mask even survive from movie to movie. The atmosphere in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, that more methodical pace really helps the atmosphere. You just have this sense of dread throughout the whole movie. And even it brings an element of randism to Michael, where he doesn't kill Miss Elrod, but he kills a girl that hears the screams. And then there's the twist that's become more controversial over time that Laurie and Michael are brother and sister. I've said it before, I don't think it demystifies Michael. It just gives him a primary target. If he were to kill Laurie, I don't think his killing would stop. I know John Carpenter didn't like the twist and blamed it on drinking. Well, I still think it works, and with a little bit more effort, it could have been explained better, because if you watch the first movie, there is no hint of a baby in the Myers house. I think the Strodes were close enough with the Myers that they were willing to adopt Laurie in the first place. So what if the Strodes, for whatever reason, couldn't have kids? And the Myers decided, you know what, we're going to have a kid and let you adopt. There you go. It ties it in nicely. It's something believable that actually does happen, and all the other film sequels, I like that this was part 2 was in continuity. In 2018, they made the decision to remove it of continuity. I think more than anything to get John Carpenter on board, but it was an exercise in pointless, because had they been brother and sister, nothing about the movie would have been changed. But that's just my taste. Like, I still like 2018, but the more I watch it, it's got its problems, and I feel removing the brother sister relationship was one of the big ones. It has a great finale with Michael in the room with the oxygen tanks, Laurie shooting him in the eyes, and Loomis buying time for Laurie to get out before he takes out his lighter, which the movie established he had on him earlier. Another cool detail that it took time to do that, and he lights it and goes, "It's time, Michael," before. Again, another line you could just put on a shirt. Loomis's face, "It's time, Michael." I didn't touch up on all the plot details, but this is just a basic review of the movie, and I'm gonna give it an A. Montober is sadly officially over. I can't wait till next year to come back. Now, have fun, be safe, and make sure there's no copies of Resident Evil Survivor in your kids' Halloween bags. That's just not a pretty sight, so have fun. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Over and out.